Hi guys, this is Shards of Alchemy set up to play. We are going to play the Initiate game. It's the simple first mode of play of 5, and everything is ready here. We're just going to get into it. To start with, I'm playing 2 players here. Each of us gets twice as many cards already in play as the number of players. So in this case, 2 players means 4 cards apiece. There we go. I get 4. My opponent also gets 4. Okay. And we're going to do something that's like an accelerated draft at the beginning. So each of us is going to split our cards into 2 piles. And we both got 1 gold and some other things. So gold is worth 3 points. Most of the other cards are worth 1 point, and gray is worth 0 unless you have 2 of them, and then it's worth 1 point. So he's got a gray, black, and blue, and a gold. He split it into 2 piles. Mine, I've got 2 reds, a green, and a gold. So I think if I split it like that, he's probably going to take the 2 reds and green, but there's not a lot I can do about that. Because if I put a red with the gold, he'll definitely take the red and gold. So for me, this isn't ideal because having more than one of a color is also useful. At the end of the game, each person will score according to the card values, but they also get another 2 points for having the most of a color. So at the onset, when we're setting it up, this is something we're thinking about, is what kind of advantage am I going to give my opponent? All right, so I split mine, he split his, and now we're going to find out who the first player is. They get first pick. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the top card of the deck. We're going to look at the value here. See that little black dot at the tip? That's the value of the card. So on its face, at the very tip, you can see that it's in a light gray crescent. This one's worth 1 point. The next one he's drawing for himself is also worth 1 point. Okay, so we're trying to break that tie. So I drew another one that's worth 1 point. Let's see what he gets. 1 point again. Oh, 4 points. Okay, so he's ahead. We've both drawn, so he's going to go first. And we just fill out the rest of these discard spaces, which in this game are also draw spaces. We've got an interesting set of cards to start with. Okay, so first thing we do before we get into actual play is he's going to pick one of my 2 piles. So he took the 2 reds and the green. Good choice. He puts it into his mat so that it's out of play for the moment. And I'm going to look at his 2 sets here. I already have a gold. I think I want some color variety, so I'm going to go with this one. All right, so he starts with a little bit of an advantage at the beginning, but that could change. All right, and so we set up our cards by color on the table here in front of us. It's a good idea to use something like a big mat like this for your cards if you want to keep them clean and have a nice designated play space. Okay, his first move was to draw the black. The red fell, and when a card falls, first you can decide to switch it for something you already have in your mat. He decided not to switch. And whatever card lands in that space, it accelerates the clock by its value. So in this case, it went up by 1. So he still has a play. He's going to play the gray, which gray you can play it from the discard space. And the gold's about to fall, but he hasn't done his switch yet, so now he's using it. Oh, and he drew the 4-point card to start with. So that really accelerated the clock quite a bit. So depending on where you're at in the game, you might decide to draw those high value cards because you want the game to end quickly. You have some control over it because you can use that switch, or that twist it's called, but you can only do that once on your turn. So he did a couple of things there. He drew and then he played a gray, so that gave him 2 chances for the switch. For the twist, he used it once at the end. Alright, so now he has a gray here in his mat. It's not in play yet, but he could get it into play later. So that's pretty good. He has some really good advantage. If I wanted to accelerate the game, I could be drawing those 4.1s too to speed the game up. I'm not going to try and accelerate it too much. I want this to play through a little bit so we can see some more action. So I'm going to go ahead and draw, let's see, nobody has white. I'll draw a white. This is the same, practically identical, same value white that's dropping. I'll go ahead and play that. Okay, so that's my turn. This 1 value drop sends the clock up by 1, and it's the end of my turn, so the clock goes up another 1. The last player, whatever the player count is, the last player will send the clock forward by 1 at the end of their turn, and they're probably the one that should be in charge of this clock anyway. So then it's the first player's turn again. He's drawing a blue card. He's going to look at the next one. It's a black 1-point card. He's just going to let it drop. Accelerates the clock. We're up to 8 at this point. Okay, he's putting a blue card out. So he's matching my blues, so you can block somebody from having the most by having an equal amount. Okay, and then it's my turn. And let's see. So if I want to take a chance that this next one isn't like really high value, or if I just don't care, maybe I'll draw this one that's blue on the back side. That's what we're drawing for. It's a double white on the front, but that doesn't matter because we're drawing for the back. So I'm drawing that. I'm going to look at this one. It's green. I'm like, that's fine. I let that drop. And then I'll do my play. That accelerated the clock by 1. And then I'll play this blue. So now I have 2 blue. And the end of my turn, the clock goes up again. And now we're at 10 of 21. So as he does his play, keep in mind this clock goes to 21. When it reaches 21 or more, it'll just stop at 21. The last player to go will finish their turn. And then we count up the points. So he let another 4-point drop. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're up to 14. He's playing a gray, looks like. Yeah. Oh, he's putting a gold out and putting a gray back. So to put a gold out, gold is a really heavy card in this game. It's high value, but it's hard to get into play. So to get it out, normally for a draw, you have to switch it if it's in a discard space with something you already have in your mat. And to get it out into play, you again have to switch it with something you have in play to get it on the field. So he switched it with a gray. That's usually a good trade-off because that's a 0-point card. The gold's worth 3. All right, going to me. All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and take this green one here, let the gray drop, and then I'll go ahead and play that green one. Okay, so the gray was 0, so that didn't accelerate the clock, but at the end of my turn I do as well, so it goes up to 15. Then it's my opponent's turn. They're drawing a white. They're letting another white drop, not switching anything because it's the same deal. They're going to play a gray, so they're keeping these cards in their mat. And when the gray drops, it's a 6-point card. Are you sure you want to accelerate it that much? Okay. So he feels like he's got an advantage. He's going to let the 6-point drop and see where that puts us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That puts us at 21 already. So that was a perfect move if you were trying to end the game on your turn. And so that stops it. You've already done your draw and your play, so your turn's already done. So now we just add up the points. That was a pretty quick game. Usually games last about 10 minutes. That was a little faster, minus my explaining what's happening as it goes here. It would be a it's always a quick game. That was pretty quick. Okay, so we look at the card values. What's in your mat doesn't count unless there's a tiebreaker. So we add up what's in the field. So he's got 2 gold, a gray, a green, 2 red, and a blue. Okay, so the gray won't count because he only has 1. He needs 2 to count. So it's 3 for each gold, 3, 6, and 1 for the others. 7, 8, 9, 10 points on the field. Over here I've got 1 gray as well, so I'll ignore that. I've got 1 gold, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he's got 10, I've got 8 on the field. And then we add up, we look at the most of each color. You can reference either the top of the box or the book, and you can see the colors of the cards on here, and just use this as a reference point. So starting with gold, he's got the most gold, so that gives him another 2 points. So he's at 12. Looks like I've got the most white, so I'm at 10. Then we go to green. We both have the same number of green, so no winners there. Both have the same number of gray, so no winners there. Blue, I've got the most blue, so I'm up to 12, so we're 12 to 12. And then red, he's got the most red, so he's 14 to my 12. And then black, I have the most black, so we're both tied, actually, so it's 14 to 14. And he's got the tiebreaker because having the most in your mat breaks a tie. So this is a pretty good example of a close game with somebody winning on the mat. So yeah, there you go. That was a good example of how the game plays. Hope you get a chance to play it soon and let us know what your experience is like. And you can play up to 5 players. So, and it's just about as fast no matter the player count because everything accelerates the game as cards drop. Alright, so to put this away, what we do is we flip over these discards so we can see the back, figure out what color they are really easily. And then, starting with 1 player at a time, we're going to drop 1 card at a time on these discard spaces. But if the color matches, we'll skip ahead and we'll come back to it. So he's going to go ahead and drop his. There he goes. He's checking if the color matches. He's going to move ahead and just come back to the one that matched. Okay, I'll do the same thing. Okay, so what we're doing is we are dispersing the clumps of color in the deck so that the next game there won't be big clumps of the same color. So this is a good way to do a lot of games like this, but in particular this one because it already creates the space where you can do stack shuffles. That's what this is called. And then you take those cards, you put them back in the deck, and then to make sure you really kind of disperse things throughout. And it's okay to have some clumps, you know, that's part of a random deck. So we're going to do a light shuffle. And for this, you just angle the 2 sides of the deck and together, and you drop them together and just do a light shuffle. The deck's pretty slippery to start with, so don't try too hard. Just let it kind of fall together. It'll have a dispersion of the 2 sides of the deck. Put it back, it's ready for the next game. And that's the general operation of this game. Hope you enjoyed that. Tell me what you think, and like I said, tell me what your experience with the game is when you get a chance to play it. Thank you.